The video which you're about to see is a recording of the demonstration held in Gibraltar on Tuesday the 13th of May 1997 to protest against Spain's denial and violation of the European rights of the people of Gibraltar. Our EU rights are being systematically challenged or denied by the Spanish government in what is an abuse of her position in the European Union, contrary to the fundamental principles of freedom, democracy and equality which lie at the very heart of the European treaties. Spain advocates that Gibraltar should be excluded from fundamental community measures. She refuses to recognize Gibraltar's international direct dial area code. She refuses to allow access to the Gibraltar airport by Spanish and foreign airlines. She refuses to allow ferry services between Gibraltar and Spain. She operates her land frontier with Gibraltar in a most unconventional and un-European manner, creating lengthy queues at whim. She fails to recognize and accept Gibraltar-issued ID cards as valid EU travel documents, even though the European Commission has done so. The latest and most serious example of interference is the Spanish government's attempts to invalidate the Gibraltar-issued British EU Common Format Passport approved by the European Commission. All these measures severely curtail the enjoyment of our political rights and the development of our economy. On Tuesday, the 13th of May, 1997, Gibraltar spoke with one clear and united voice and said, "Enough is enough." On the 13th of May, Gibraltar spoke with one voice in a massive demonstration organized by a non-political group of citizens calling themselves the Voice of Gibraltar. The object of the demonstration was to protest against the negation of basic European rights being denied to this community and to highlight the continued harassment by Spain at border controls designed to hurt Gibraltar. Since 1985, when Spain reopened the frontier in the hope of having meaningful negotiations with the United Kingdom government over Gibraltar, we've been continually bullied and harassed by our European neighbour. In the face of occasional diplomatic protest from the British government, the frontier has been used by Spain as an instrument of torture, applied with sufficient pressure to provoke anger, frustration and consternation here, but not, it seems, in the European community, nor to the United Kingdom government, who is responsible for our affairs. It was in this vacuum of helplessness that the Voice of Gibraltar was born a year ago.
I think it was a combination of frustration and genuine concern. For many years now, as you know, Gibraltar has been treated unfairly by Spanish politicians in government because they hope to change our minds concerning sovereignty by harassing us, by tightening the screws, by trying to stifle our economy. And of course, that just does not work, because we want to be able to express freely our right of self-determination.
It's about time that the people of Gibraltar should have expressed it democratically as we are doing, peacefully as we are doing, a demonstration of goodwill towards the Spanish people, of protest against the Spanish government, and I think of encouragement to the British government to do something more about it.
I think nothing could be more accurate than saying enough is enough. In fact, enough has been enough for a very long time.
Today is to protest against the Spanish government and the British government for Britain for not defending our rights as EU members, and the Spaniards for their harassment against Gibraltar and not accepting our passport, not accepting our card, and making queues to discourage people from coming into Gibraltar.
We've had enough of queuing and the passports and every little thing they pick on, and Gibraltar has the right to get across without having to wait 3 or 4 hours, in my opinion. And it's time the government recognized this.
We've got nothing against the Spanish people. It's the discrimination that the Spanish of Madrid is doing with us. It's discrimination. in the queue with passport, with identity, and with everything.
It's important that we do not allow those rights to be eroded, and this is the legitimate expression by the people of Gibraltar of their democratic rights and expectations that our European Union rights should be respected. It's a logical public outpouring and manifestation of anger at the policies pursued by one European Union country against another.
Before the demonstration got underway, the petition to the British Prime Minister to call upon Spain to comply with the spirit and the letter of her community obligations towards Gibraltar was read to an estimated gathering of 5,000. These numbers swelled to 10,000 as the demonstration made its way to the governor's residence to deliver the petition.
The Spanish government has, ever since Spain joined the community in 1986, persistently pursued a sustained campaign against Gibraltar's long-established EU status. This has extended to many areas, affecting Gibraltar's normal, social, economic and political freedom, and its development as a community with a distinct identity. Our EU rights derive from Gibraltar's status as an integral part of the EC by virtue of Article 227, bracket 4 of the Treaty of Rome, which extends the treaty provisions and EC measures to European territories for whose external affairs a member state is responsible.
We also take the opportunity to forcibly impress upon the newly elected Labour government in Britain of their obligation towards Gibraltar and its people. And we urge them to take whatever action is necessary for Gibraltar to achieve full European rights.
The thousands of people who've converged in the city centre today just want one thing: to have their voice heard throughout Europe and the world, that Gibraltar is entitled to its full European rights.
Sir Richard Luce, Governor of Gibraltar, received a delegation of 4 ladies from the Voice of Gibraltar Group and its affiliate for the occasion, the Help Us to Help Them Group. After thanking them, he promised to pass it on to the Foreign Secretary for onward transmission to the Prime Minister. The petition seeks the support of the Prime Minister in reminding Spain that she can't flaunt EU laws and deny the Gibraltarians the legitimate status in the Union. The most serious recent threats being the challenge to identity cards and passports issued in Gibraltar designed to hinder free movement and undermine our constitutional jurisdiction. The Governor, who very recently met the Queen and the new Foreign Secretary Robin Cook, assured the delegation that Britain remains firmly committed to Gibraltar, and that includes defending our position in Europe along with our fundamental rights and responsibilities. It remains to be seen what form of diplomatic pressure might be brought to bear upon Spain by the United Kingdom government that would effectively block her efforts to undermine Gibraltar's legitimate aspirations as a free community in Europe. With those thoughts, the delegation was pleased to be accompanied back to the demonstration by His Excellency, who greeted the Chief Minister and other politicians who were supporting the Voice of Gibraltar in their protest.
Well, Mrs. Delagua, you've presented your petition now. What is your reaction to the comments from the Governor?
Well, the Governor has said that the petition will be forwarded immediately to the Prime Minister via the Foreign Secretary Robin Cook. His Excellency the Governor recently saw Mr. Cook in London. His message to the people of Gibraltar was that Britain remains firmly committed to them and to the undertakings and preamble to the 1969 Constitution.
After that brief respite, the walk through the town continued in a dignified manner, with many demonstrators waving their Gibraltar-issued British passports at every camera in sight. On arrival at Casemates, traditionally the location where our National Day is celebrated on the 10th of September, the demonstrators gathered to listen to addresses by representatives from the Voice of Gibraltar Group. These were received with much applause and passport waving, as an estimated 10,000 exercised their right to demonstrate against unfair treatment at the hands of a European neighbour who refuses to listen.
Britain and the European Union should not allow Spain to manipulate our rights and to threaten us with a closed frontier. Of course we want an open frontier, but we want a frontier which operates in the same manner as any other frontier within the European Union. For example, like Spain's frontier with France, which allows Spaniards to travel freely throughout Europe. We demand all our rights as Europeans, and we want our democratically expressed wishes to be respected now. Before I finish off, a word of advice to Mr. Aznar. Senor, stop traveling to other continents to promote democracy and practice what you preach within Europe first.
The second address was from the representative of the Help Us to Help Them group. It was a rousing speech delivered in Spanish by Julio Pons, who hammered home a number of points and caught everyone by surprise when he highlighted the plight of Moroccan workers resident in Gibraltar who are not allowed to cross the border into Spain to board ferries at Algeciras.
El señor, el gobierno español, cuando el año pasado fue a Marruecos a hablar con el rey Hassan, para hablar para los derechos humanos musulmanes, y tienen los musulmanes aquí cerrados, no dejan de pasar por la frontera.
He ended his intervention by expressing the hope that the new British government will do more than write letters and make telephone calls to Madrid. The last speaker was Charles Brousson, a former Catholic priest who labelled himself as the eternal optimist and quoted from a message by Pope John XXIII.
One thing is clear beyond dispute. Any attempt to check the vitality and growth of a minority group is a flagrant violation of justice, the more so if such exertions are aimed at their very extinction. Do these words apply to us or not? Yes. I think they do. And I'll tell you why. For many years now, we have been bullied, and many attempts have been made to stifle our economy, to destroy our morale, and to stain our good name abroad. And this has been going on for longer than I wish to remember. We are Gibraltarian British citizens, and have been loyal to Britain and still are. But now we say to the new British government, be bold and make clear to Spain that her tactics will never succeed. What is happening here is inhuman, it is illegal, it is totally un-European, and it must stop. It must stop now.
In spite of his best efforts, the frustration and anger came through. Feelings that are shared by almost everyone in this community. It was for him to ask the crowd to raise their passports in protest against Spain's denial of our legitimate right of free movement across all the borders of the European Union. Most appropriately, a local song called United Forever was chosen as the musical backdrop with which to raise and wave locally issued British and Gibraltarian passports. A fitting end to a dignified protest after which people dispersed quietly. However, political leaders, past and present, stayed behind to be interviewed by the press as soon as the music ended.
Well, the message for Spain really has to be that in this day and age, I mean, this is 1997, you cannot treat a European minority in this obnoxious manner. And really, the fact of the matter is that we may be 30,000, but we are Europeans. We have British European passports. That gives us certain rights
the message to Spain has to be to respect the rights of the people of Gibraltar.
I think no one can deny that we are European, not only in mind and patriotism and identity, but even in blood. I doubt whether you find a mixture of Europe in blood in anywhere else in Europe other than in Gibraltar. So all this about unity and integration and all that, we have done it here as a family, as a people, and therefore this cannot be denied to us.
So what is Europe doing? Is it doing its job? Is Europe doing its job?
No, I don't think so. They are completely ignoring our cry for support, and this is not a good mark for what they say, the Europe of the people.
Well, I think the message is a message that is consistent with what the Union preaches. The treaty at Maastricht is a treaty of the Union of Europe, and it creates for the first time the concept of citizenship, where you are a citizen of Europe, whether you happen to be born and live in Gibraltar or in Holland or in France or in Spain or in Portugal. And it is an absurdity that citizens of a common system should be virtually at war with each other. We didn't start the war. If it was started by Royal Marines and Dutch Marines in 1704. It ought to have ended by now.
What we're saying, and what the entire adult population has come out to say with one loud and united voice, is that Gibraltar is an integral part of the European Union, that we have obligations that we keep. When we don't keep them, we get told that we've got to keep them, and the necessary action gets taken against us. Well, that means that we must also have rights, and when they are denied to us, and when others infringe those rights and carry on and behave in relation to Gibraltar in breach of the letter and spirit of the Treaty of Rome and other European Union measures, that European Union institutions are going to take up a note and make sure that the whole of Europe has its rights respected and that the whole of Europe respects its others' obligations. And really this is a pure exercise in democracy. The entire adult population of Gibraltar here today saying to the whole of Europe, we are part of Europe, our rights are being infringed, and please stand up, take note, and have Spain respect our rights, which we had 13 years before she joined.
We are tired of putting up with all the harassment that we are subjected to at the hands of the Spanish government. This has been going on for many years. The situation seems to be deteriorating instead of improving. We've shown lots of goodwill towards them, and to no avail.
The pedestrian queue at the frontier this afternoon stretched alongside that of the cars. The sight is an unusual one, as opposed to car queues of over an hour that have sadly become a common and almost accepted occurrence.
Whether yesterday's demonstration has anything to do with this or not, today pedestrians crossing into Spain are being subjected to over 1.5 hours waiting time. It seems that yesterday's message has not been received.
Tourists to whom I spoke to, however, were being told that a strike was being carried out.
They're only being awkward, I think. I don't know why they want to, create all this for the tourists that fetch them money in, and they create all this problem for them. It's ridiculous.
Inconvenienced, but I don't suppose there's anything much we can do about it. And the more you protest, I suppose the longer the queues will be.
Disgusting. This is a revenge from yesterday's demonstration. You can guarantee that's what they've taken. I've got to take my son to the doctor, and I've waited nearly an hour, and it's disgusting.
Motorists too were being asked to step down from their vehicles as their passports were being checked. This gentleman was one of many who had to wait patiently while his passport was scrutinized.
Following yesterday's queues at the frontier, some drivers decided to get an early start today, only to find that there was already a tailback stretching back to the sundial. A short while later, cars were queuing down Devil's Tower Road. Pedestrians have also been subjected to long delays. At 5 this afternoon, it was taking them over half an hour to cross by foot. Passports are being closely scrutinised, which is aggravating the situation. Inspector Michael Larkham gave his assessment.
It is unusual for this time of day. We normally have traffic queues towards the frontier, but that's the sheer volume when people finish work, and it's the rush hour. But at this present time, the rush hour hasn't even started, so we're expecting more traffic delays.
What time did the build-up start today?
Well, the officer on duty at the frontier actually alerted to me about 14:30 hours today.
Drivers in the queue believe that Tuesday's demonstration is the cause of the delays.
The demonstration yesterday. About an hour and a half we've been here.
I think probably the demonstration had something to do with it. But irrespective of that, you know, we have to protest. We protest, that's all there is to it. And we have to, unfortunately, we have to put up with this. But I mean, it's absolutely immoral.
I think I have been for 1 hour and 15 minutes, something like that. I think it's the demonstration of Tuesday that caused it.
Hour and 20. Spanish government, I should think. They want to get their act together, spoiling everybody's enjoyment in life, and it's getting nowhere.
Apart from the sheer frustration of the long wait and the extra work for the Gibraltar police, the terrible inconvenience being caused to tourists visiting the Rock is counterproductive to Gibraltar's promotion of the industry. The relatives of the 63-year-old man who died at the frontier queue yesterday have blamed the Spanish government for the situation that led to the death of José Espinosa Gil. Senor Espinosa died of a heart attack whilst waiting in a 2.5-hour queue to go into Spain.
This is thought to have been the first time that an incident of this nature has occurred at the border queue. Regardless of yesterday's tragic situation, the delays today have not relented. This afternoon it was still taking commuters 1 hour to get across into Spain. At around 6 o'clock this evening, the coffin bearing the remains of José Espinosa Gil were transferred back to his country, accompanied by members of his family and close friends.
Ocurrió que estábamos en la cola, llevamos bastante tiempo ya y pues nada, riéndose y hablando con nosotros se quedó.
Que era vergonzoso que no estuvieran tanto tiempo ahí, pero que él iba bien y todo, nada más que de repente se nos quedó. Yo le decía, ¿va usted bien? Y decía que sí, que iba bien. Le abrí el aire y todo, iba bien.
¿Pensáis hacer algo sobre esto o pensáis llevarlo para adelante? O?
A ver cuando llegamos, por lo menos queremos ponerlo en Antena 3 en Estepona. La que se entere el pueblo español por Antena 3.
¿Y a quién culpáis? ¿A qué gobierno culpáis?
Al gobierno español. No hay derecho a esto.
Que nos va a llevar a la ruina todo.
No hay derecho a esto. Una cola y 2 horas y media.
Para mirar un pasaporte solamente no hay derecho que nos tengan. 2 horas y media. No hay derecho, porque los de aquí no dejaban pasar y aquí esto no nos dejaban pasar.
Can it really make any sense to the Spanish government that by applying pressures and restricting the flow of motorists and pedestrians at the land frontier with Spain, that Gibraltar will be dissuaded from pursuing its goal of self-determination? The public demonstration held on the 13th of May 1997 in order to protest about these measures is conclusive proof that the voice of Gibraltar has to be heard in Europe, if Europe is to be the champion of democracy.